The term disability literally means a physical or mental condition that limits a person through movements, senses, or activities. In today's video, I'm going to argue the limiting nature of disability with the construct of these impairments leading to an increase in spirituality. As a friendly reminder to those of you that are either new to my channel or new to the Urantia Book, much like Jesus did on his bestowal mission with us, his primary directive was firstly to submit to the will of the Heavenly Father. Jesus was consequently measured on our planet not only by his actions, but also his intended human inaction. Don't forget that when Jesus' material father Joseph passed away, there were no attempts by Jesus to either bring him back to life or to prevent the disaster from happening in the first place. When John the Baptist was imprisoned and condemned, Jesus' only words to John were that he had not forgotten about him and that the message of the kingdom will continue to be preached, found in 144 8.3. Lastly, no one needs me to recant the horrific and gruesome events that Jesus subjected himself to in order not to circumnavigate the totality of the human experiences. Consequently, Jesus submitted to many of the harsh realities that make us truly human. Disability and its many forms, which include physical, cognitive, and emotional deteriorations, that are just a few of the harsh realities we share in order to submit to the will of our Heavenly Father. Disability is often viewed through medical, social, or ethical frameworks. But the Urantia Book invites a more cosmic interpretation. It presents a universe teeming with purpose, hierarchy, and spiritual progression. With this context, disability is not merely a biological anomaly or social disadvantage. It becomes a lens through which evolutionary struggle, spiritual growth, and divine compassion are revealed. An initial material platform that we must endure in order to create the scaffolding necessary to propel ourselves to higher states of being, and of course higher meanings in life. The Urantia Book teaches that life on Earth, which is also known as Urantia, is a product of evolutionary experimentation, as what is called a decimal planet. In paper 65, The Overcontrol of Evolution, it acknowledges that while life is intelligently planned, it is far from perfect, indicating in 65 4.3,
many features of human life afford abundant evidence that the phenomenon of mortal existence was intelligently planned, that organic evolution is not a mere cosmic accident.
This elusive planning is often representative of especially the life carriers using the verbiage suddenly appeared, being their way of keeping certain operations of heaven out of our perceptual awareness. Yet the book also concedes that biological evolution is subject to its own volitions, being open to error, mutation, and limitation. The book describes how the default life carriers and planetary supervisors work within constraints, and that not all outcomes are ideal. In these ways, God shares power and authority to his subordinates, and in doing so permits a certain level of deviation or chance happenings. This includes congenital disabilities, susceptibility to disease, environmental disasters, and of course, mental impairments. The failure of the Adamic mission, also known as the default of Adam and Eve, had profound consequences for humans through genetics. These material sons' purpose was to biologically uplift humanity through interbreeding, enhancing physical and mental capacities through their violent biological stock. Their premature default meant that this uplift remained incomplete with a majority of the old experimental Adamic race genes and of course the various susceptibilities that still remained. This left humanity with a legacy of genetic limitations, including predispositions to disease and disability. This disability is not viewed as a divine punishment, but as a consequence of interrupted evolutionary progress. Don't forget, you veterans of this channel, that God originally divided themselves into three parts in order to escape personality absolutism, with experimental planets likely an escape from redundancy and stagnation found in 10.0.1. One of the most compassionate teachings in the Urantia Book is the role of ministering spirits. Among these agents of our universe administration includes the angels of health, which are Sephiric beings assigned to support mortal agencies indicated in 114.6.12.
These are the Sephiric ministers assigned to the assistance of those mortal agencies dedicated to the promotion of health and the prevention of disease.
This implies that even in the face of disability, there is celestial support that is continuously monitoring our biological progress. The presence of these angels suggests that healing, whether physical, emotional, or spiritual, is part of a broader divine plan. Their work is not always miraculous, but is often subtle, guiding medical discovery, inspiring caregivers, and comforting the afflicted. A central teaching of the Urantia Book is that the soul is distinct from the material body and mind. While the body may be impaired, the soul remains capable of growth, communion with God, and eternal survival. This is especially relevant for those with cognitive and physical disabilities, found in 133.6.5, indicating that
Moral choice and spiritual attainment, the ability to know God and the urge to be like Him, are the characteristics of the soul.
this dual creature and divine origin means that even those with limited intellectual capacity can possess a soul of perhaps even greater spiritual potential. The indwelling thought adjuster, the fragment of God within, works regardless of physical or mental limitations. It is often said in various parts of the Urantia Book how various animalistic traits are often incompatible with divine progression. Consequently, those who master the limitations of the material mind and body often ascend faster than those who do not face these challenges. In 118.10.9, we learn that
much of what a mortal would call good luck might really be bad luck. The small of fortune that bestows unearned leisure and undeserved wealth may be the greatest of human afflictions. The apparent cruelty of a perverse fate that heaps tribulation upon some suffering mortal may in reality be the tempering fire that is transmuting the soft iron of immature personality into the tempered steel of real character.
I'm guessing that we know at least one person in our lives that has had a history of leisure or privilege, and perhaps can guess what they are lacking due to such overindulgences. The ultimate equalizer, however, of humanity will always be death. Survival after death, according to the Urantia Book, depends on moral choice and spiritual receptivity, not so much intellectual, physical, or financial achievement. This opens the gates of eternity to those who may be disabled in body or mind, but are sincere in heart, as it indicates in 5.5.13 that
limitations of intellect, curtailment of education, deprivation of culture, impoverishment of social status, even inferiority of the human standards of morality, resulting from the unfortunate lack of educational, cultural, and social advantages, cannot invalidate the presence of the divine spirit in such unfortunate and humanely handicapped but believing individuals.
Oftentimes, in my role as a therapist, I view critical incidents as force multipliers or personality polarizers when individuals either choose to succumb or thrive due to these instances. This teaching radically affirms the dignity of disabled individuals and that spiritual ascension is fair and considerate of circumstance. It suggests that spiritual progress is accessible to all, and that divine justice accounts for limitations beyond one's control. This statement is by no means black and white, since spiritual and material healing takes a degree of faith that rarely comes naturally of those still succumbed to beastly vestiges of fear and doubt. Jesus, as an example, responded to disability with empathy, fully understanding the differentiation of everyone's spiritual journey. His actions model how spiritual beings view suffering, not as punishment, but as an opportunity to increasing your faith that may lead to divine mercy through freely accessing the true vine, which Jesus states in 182.1.
If you abide in me and my words live in you, will you be able to commune freely with me? And then can my living spirit so infuse you, that you may ask whatsoever my spirit wills, and do all this with the assurance that my Father will grant us our petition.
This proverbial vine, after all, is a source of all nourishment and vitality throughout the Master Universe. The Urantia Book describes otherworldly nourishment as being the concept of the mansion worlds, the transitional spheres where souls awaken after death. Here, healing is not only possible through your increased exposure through your growing perceived universe, as we learn in 45.6.3.
On the 7 mansion worlds, ascending mortals are afforded ample opportunities for compensating any and all experiential deprivations suffered on their worlds of origin, whether due to inheritance, environment, or unfortunate premature termination of their career in the flesh.
Maybe a not so fun fact for some, but apparently sex is the only thing that isn't really made up for in the future stages of spiritual evolution, unless of course you are given special assignment, such as the once corporeal staff of our former planetary prince. In the mansion worlds, the soul is given a new body, suited for spiritual growth. Those who are disabled on Earth are restored, not just physically, but holistically. This process is not punitive, it's rehabilitative. The mansion worlds also serve as educational spheres. Those who are intellectually limited on Earth are given new opportunities to learn, grow, and develop spiritually. This affirms that disability is a temporary condition that is corrected through the administration of our universe, as it describes in 47.3.1.
When you go from Urantia to your first mansion world, you will notice considerable change. But if you had come from a more normal and progressive sphere of time, you would hardly notice the difference, except for the fact that you were in possession of a different body. The tabernacle of flesh and blood has been left behind on the world of nativity.
This adjustment includes healing, learning, and preparation for higher service through learning divine values. It's a vision of cosmic inclusion, where no soul is left behind due to earthly limitations. If disability is part of the evolutionary struggle and not a moral failing, then the appropriate response is compassion. The Urantia Book encourages believers to emulate Jesus, who never judged the disabled, but always sought to uplift them. While the book doesn't prescribe social policy, its teachings imply that societies should strive for inclusion and acceptance even of all religious affiliations that believe in the Heavenly Father. The spiritual equality of all souls suggests that disabled individuals should be fully integrated into community life, education, and worship. The presence of the angels of health and the emphasis on evolutionary progress suggests that science and spirituality should collaborate. The Urantia Book often frames suffering as a catalyst for growth. Disability, while painful, can deepen empathy, strengthen faith, and foster community. It challenges individuals and societies to transcend superficial values and embrace deeper truths. Disability often reveals the interconnectedness of humanity. It calls forth the best in others, compassion, patience, and generosity. In this way, it serves the ideal of the brotherhood of man, a central theme in the Urantia Book. During the golden ages of material worlds, which are for some the closest experiences our descendants will have associated with heaven on earth, we learn in 55.3.1 that even worlds who are progressing through the early stages of light and life, that
there still remain the problems of caring for accidental injuries and the inescapable infirmities attendant upon the decrepitude of old age and the disorders of salinity.
Consequently, in the cosmology of the Urantia Book, disability is not a curse, punishment, or a failure. It is a condition shaped by evolutionary imperfection, genetic history, environmental factors, and God's sharing of his creative prerogatives. But more importantly, disability can be a catalyst towards spiritual growth, divine compassion, and eternal hope. Thank you again for watching today's video, your continued support, and I'll see you on the next one.